So one day, this was probably like in January. So one day on Facebook, a friend of mine, well, he's not my friend anymore, but a friend of mine hit me up, and I haven't talked to him in maybe like a year. And he hit me up because, when you post a new picture on Facebook or post a new post and you just haven't posted in a while and somebody sees it, so they're like, hey. So basically, this young man hit me up and he was like, hey, I was trying to figure out why we stopped talking to each other. And I was like, I was trying to figure that out too, but he's very attractive, so we started talking throughout the week, and he was like, so what are you doing next week? I said, I'm not doing anything. So he said, well, let's meet up. Let's talk. I haven't seen you in a long time. Okay, no problem. So I drive over there. He lives in Philly. I live in South Jersey. I drive over there, and when I first got there, I noticed that he was like a little tipsy. So the first thing he says to me is, oh my gosh, it's so nice to see you. Like, you look the same. You're still gorgeous. Blah, blah, blah. So when are you leaving? So I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, when are you leaving? And I'm like, I could leave right now. He's like, no, I didn't mean that in that way. I just wanted to know, like, when are you leaving? And I was like, I don't know. I guess, like, we can chill and see how things go. So he was like, okay. So he sits down and puts on a movie, and then he asked me if I was hungry. So I'm like, yeah, I'm hungry. And he's like, what do you want? So me, I love Jamaican food. So I was like, I want some Jamaican food. So he was like, okay, cool. I know a spot downtown. These people here are like my family. Like, if we go there, they're going to hook us up. So I said, okay, let's go. So we took his car. I prayed the whole time we were in the car because he was tipsy and he was driving crazy, but we got there in one piece. So when we get to the store, the Jamaican guy is like, hey, he knew his name and everything. I'm not going to mention his name. He was like, how are you doing? How can I help you? And he's like, yeah, hi, this is my lady friend. Hook us up. So he asked me, what do I want? So I said, I would like some oxtails, some mac and cheese, and some rice and beans. He asked him what he wanted, and he said, it wasn't oxtails, it was curry goat. He said, I would like the same thing with the rice and beans, but I don't want mac and cheese. I don't even want anything. And I said, well, why don't you get cabbage? Because it comes with two sides. So he was like, okay, I'll get the cabbage. I can't have two starches. And he looked at me like I was crazy, but I didn't care. So we got our food. They gave us a good amount of food. We get back to his house, and I open up my food. He opens up his food. The first thing he says to me is, oh, let me taste some of your mac. And I'm like, you could have got your own, but okay. So he tastes my mac, and he's like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And I'm like, I know, it's baked mac and cheese. Like, you should have gotten it. He was like, yeah, I should have. So we're eating our food, we're watching the movie, and then out of nowhere, he looks at me and he's like, you know what you should do? You should just eat half of your food and save the rest for tomorrow. He was like, it's a lot of food, and if you just eat half your food now and save the rest for tomorrow, I'm telling you, it tastes so delicious like the next day when you heat it up. So I'm like, okay, it makes sense. It is a lot of food. I'm going to eat half of it, and then I'm going to save the rest. So after I ate half of my food, I closed my tray and he took it and he wrapped it up real good for me and put it in the fridge. So it was getting late. It was like 1 o'clock now. So he's like, it's late. If you want to, you could spend the night. Like, I'm not going to touch you. Like, you could sleep on one side of the bed and I'll sleep on one side of the bed, or we can cuddle or whatever. So I was like, okay, but I'm going to leave like really early in the morning. He's like, okay, like what time? I was like, probably like 6 or 7. He's like, okay, that's fine. So I couldn't sleep because he was snoring so loud that I just put on like the TV and was watching a movie. So like in the middle of the night, like around 3 a.m., he gets up and he goes downstairs. Out of nowhere, just gets up and goes downstairs. So in my head, I'm thinking, okay, maybe he just went downstairs to get something to drink, because he did come up with bottles of water. And I know when you do drink, you have to keep yourself hydrated. So maybe he went downstairs to, get some more water. But he was down there for a long time. So I was thinking, well, maybe he fell asleep on the couch because he was just so tipsy. So he comes back upstairs maybe like 30 minutes later. Now, mind you, I didn't go to sleep, so I know. It's like 35 minutes later, he comes upstairs and gets back in the bed. So immediately he gets back in the bed and starts snoring again, and I was just like, I can't. I'm just gonna leave. Like, I'm tired, but I'm leaving. So I get up and I go downstairs and I go look in the fridge to grab my food. And I noticed when I picked up my food, the box was like light, but I still wasn't paying no mind to it because I just knew my food was there. So I was like, let me just take a little piece of goat, like before I go, like just, pop a little piece in my mouth. And I was like, I cannot wait to eat this for lunch today. So I open up the box and all my goat is gone. All my curry goat is gone. All my mac and cheese is gone. And the only thing that's left is some rice. And it's all picked off of, like, the meat that was in the rice, and the gravy was, like, all eaten out of. So I was pissed off, and I went back upstairs and I kicked his bed, and he was like, huh? And I was like, why'd you eat my food? And he was like, I didn't eat your food. And I was like, yes, you did. And he was like, no, you ate it, but you just didn't remember that you ate it. And I was like, no, you definitely ate my food. And he was like, so what? I paid for it anyway. I'll get you some more. And I was like, no, I'm good. I was so mad that I wanted to hide his car keys. Just hide them from him. I wasn't going to take them. Just like hide them under the couch or hide them in a crazy place. Just because I was mad. But instead I just left. And I went home. And like around 9-10 o'clock in the morning, he gives me a call and he's like, you didn't tell me you were leaving. Why'd you leave? And I was like, I did wake you up and tell you that I was leaving. And you ate my food. And he was like, oh my gosh, like, you're really going to make a big deal about that? And I was like, no, like, how are you going to buy me food and eat my food? Like, who does that? And he was like, I'm saying, like, I paid for it. And I was like, so? But it was mine. Like, he was like, I'll buy you some more. And I was like, no, I'm good. But that was just one story that I dealt with. And he was still trying to get me to hang out with me again. But that was the only time I hung out with him. And after that, I was done. Because I thought that was, like, really weird. And I thought that was crazy, like, how he set that up. But stay tuned. I have other stories. This is just one story.